bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
All right. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. Love it. Today's Tuesday, July 27th, 2021. 209 days into the new year. Only 156 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of nowhere. A total undisclosed location. But it is beautiful. And I love saying that because it is. It is great in here. Man. You know, I should almost, like take the camera. Which camera am I on? Am I on this one? Or this one? Or this one? I should take that camera off and like just around in here because it's cool. You know you want to see it. I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? We got a great show coming up tonight. William Henry is here. He is here to discuss the ancient ET connection. And that's like everything, right? William and I have agreed to just start and let this thing evolve wherever the conversation leads us. We're going to do that tonight. And I wanted to do this because, first off, William is extremely bright and well-versed and educated in all of these subjects, but and a studier of, that is a word, a studier of history. And these conversations that we had over dinner and hanging out a couple of weeks ago were just amazing. And I was just sitting here thinking, man, this is the show. Why? What are we doing? This is fun. And I'm learning, and I'm sitting here listening to you. But this is the show. People need to hear this, man. And he's like, so let's do it. I said, okay. All right. So William is joining us tonight. And I have assured everybody that we are going to continue those private conversations. We're just going to let it all hang out tonight. It's going to be great. William Henry is with us at the bottom of the hour. And then tomorrow night, Jay Widener is here. He is going to be sharing his knowledge about the secret mystery schools and who may be running the world today. All of that from Jay Widener tomorrow night. I can't wait. William Henry and Jay Widener, same week with Travis Walton. Somebody pinch me. I love my job. My job is cool. Thursday's Fader night with open lines all night long. Yeah. Best night of the week. And all of talk radio goes down right here, Fade to Black on Thursday nights. And now, I don't normally do this because I just don't do this sort of thing. I get requests for it all the time, but But I'm going to do it right now because two of my oldest friends in the world tonight are having a sleepover. That's right. I got this text, Jimmy, we're having a sleepover tonight. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. You guys are grown-ass women. But I've just got to do this right now and give a very big, huge shout out to Lynn and Leanne. And I already know. These two are laughing right now, and I know there's some trouble on the horizon tonight. But you guys have a good time. I wish I was there. I really do. And just two of my oldest friends in the world. I've got pictures of us. Oh, man. I'm going to say I'm 15 in these pictures. And I've got a lot. We took a lot of pictures for that era. We dumped a lot of film that summer. But anyway, yeah, we go way back. So you guys have a good time tonight, Lynn and Leanne. And I wish I was there. You wish I was there. Holy crap. Man, miss you too. Okay. All right. You guys have a good time tonight. Let's get this show cracking. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You know what to do. You can start your social media connection with me right there. All right. At JChurchRadio. That blends out into everything else. And, I do stuff on Facebook once in a while and the other things that go on out there. But you can start right there. At J Church Radio. Okay. The sandbox is hashtag F2B on Twitter. I haven't logged into the sandbox lately. Let me see. Let me do this for a second. I'm just in normal Twitter. Okay. So let me do the hashtag. So that's what happens when you hashtag. And there is the sandbox right in front of me. Okay. All right, well, I have the sandbox open. You can come and hang out with the rest of the Fadernauts right there in the sandbox. Hashtag F2B on Twitter. Hello to everybody on KGRA. What is up? The Bunker Cam. What is up? Facebook. Right? YouTube. Earlier today, I was over on Christine Gomez's. Is that Gomez's? Christine Gomez's show. Again, last week I burned up 2 hours with her. I felt so bad. Just came in and just stepped all over her and took over her show. But I went over again today. Thank you for the invite, Christine. And hung out, and it was great. And you guys need to check it out. And I think I've got it up in Twitter. If I don't, you can go and follow Christine and check out the links and head over and listen to our conversation that we did earlier today. And oddly enough, is this. We were talking about different extraterrestrial species and civilizations out there and types that could be and have been interacting with us here on Earth. And we talked about that today. And I jumped back into some of ancient history, and I thought to myself, I got to remember what we're talking about right now, because William Henry's on the show tonight. And so I got a little warm up with Christina Gomez, and Christina, you're the best. And so there you go. I want to say hi to everybody out there in the chat rooms and over on Spreaker and, of course, YouTube and Facebook and everything. So let's get this show cracking. Got a lot to discuss tonight. Huge breaking news right before the show. One of our producers here who has been with us for many, 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 many years here on the show since, just about the beginning, Renee, and she's the best. She's feeding me all of these breaking news stories all day long. And right before the show tonight, I get the Renee email. And you got to go there, because her subject in the email is breaking news. So when that happens, I've got to go and check it out. And this broke right before the show. Check this out. And we have William Henry on tonight. The Department of Justice announced today, right before the show, that it had recovered the Gilgamesh Dream Tablet, a rare portion of the Epic of Gilgamesh. That's right. They got it from Oklahoma-based arts and crafts superstore Hobby Lobby. The Epic of Gilgamesh is considered one of the most ancient works of literature and originally comes from Iraq. According to the Department of Justice, the Gilgamesh Dream Tablet was smuggled into the United States, and an international auction house sold the tablet to Hobby Lobby Stores Incorporated. The company put the tablet on display at the Museum of the Bible. I believe that is in Washington, D.C. Well, in 2014, the auction house sold the Gilgamesh Dream Tablet to Hobby Lobby in a private sale, and an auction house employee carried it on a flight from London to the U.S. And the story behind it and the trail and falsified documents, about what this is and how it was found, and we don't know what it is. It's just a rock, right? Yeah, right. Well, it got confiscated. All right, here we go. This also broke earlier today. Daniel Hale, a former U.S. Air Force intelligence analyst who leaked information about civilian deaths caused by drone strikes overseas, has been sentenced to almost 4 years in prison under the Espionage Act. The U.S. District Judge Liam O'Grady passed the sentence on Tuesday in a federal court in Alexandria, Virginia, saying that the 45-month sentence was needed as a deterrent to others from disclosing government secrets. O'Grady told Hale he had other options than to share classified documents with a reporter. Hale, 33 years old, pleaded guilty in March to one count of violating the Espionage Act of 1917, admitting to retention and transmission of national security information, and leaking 11 classified documents to a journalist. The documents were leaked to The Intercept, which published them in October 2015, and you remember this, as the Drone Papers. Under the plea deal, Hale faced up to 10 years in prison, far less than the 50 years the original charges would have carried had he gone to trial. There you go. 4.5 years in prison. Now, other breaking news today, and it's getting crazier. Right now at the Vatican, the trial of former Cardinal Angelo Becciu over allegations he fraudulently spent $412 million of church money began in a special Vatican courtroom today, months after he was removed from his post by Pope Francis. The court case marks the end of a 2-year investigation that discovered the cardinal had been involved in spending $412 million of church money to purchase a property on Sloane Avenue in the posh London neighborhood of Chelsea. Now, how expensive was this property? Well, check this out. He didn't spend $412 million on that, but he did. But that was only part of the money. Prior to his dismissal in September, he was in charge of donations at the Vatican office that handles church funds. He had been a close ally of Pope Francis and is the most senior Vatican official to stand trial for financial misconduct. The crimes he's accused of include funneling donations to businesses run by his brothers on the Italian island of Sardinia. Alongside the cardinal, though, 9 other defendants are on trial for extortion, embezzlement, money laundering, and abuse of office. Yeah, the church. All right. I saw photographs of this earlier today. It's pretty interesting, pretty crazy. Some people thought it was a UFO, but a Russian Progress cargo ship today undocked from the International Space Station, and that happened yesterday, taking it and its 2 decades old Pris airlock and docking compartment to clear the way for tomorrow's arrival of Russia's new Nauka multipurpose lab module. They launched that a couple of days ago. Now, with the Progress MS-16 77-piece supply ship firmly locked to piers. Hooks and latches holding the docking compartment to the Zvezda service module's Earth-facing port were commanded open. That's right. And the Progress backed away at 6:55 a.m. this morning. After moving a safe distance away, the Progress fired its thrusters at 10:01 a.m., setting up a destructive plunge into the atmosphere 41 minutes later. The braking burn was planned to make sure that any debris that might survive re-entry, you know what goes on, catches fire, burns up, anything that would survive would fall harmlessly into the southern Pacific Ocean. Saw pictures today. People going, man, what is this? Yeah, it's pretty nuts. Well, that's what it was. Now, I'm going to leave you with this. This is some of the craziest news I've had in a while. The United States has sold a one-of-a-kind Wu-Tang album to cover Martin Shkreli's debt. Prosecutors did not announce who purchased the album or for how much, but a lawyer for Shkreli said that the sale price appeared to be at about $2.2 million. The one known copy of the Wu-Tang Clan album called Once Upon a Time in Shaolin was seized by the government 3 years ago. Shkreli bought the famous album back in 2015 when he's famous for what he did in 2015. Man, I got to stop memorizing. I should just let it flow. Because you remember what he did. He boosted the price of a drug used to treat a rare disease by 5,000% overnight through his company called Turing Pharmaceuticals. In 2017, Shkreli was also convicted of fraud in connection with two hedge funds that he ran, MSMB Capital and MSMB Healthcare, as well as conspiracy to commit securities fraud. He got 7 years in the slammer. He had about $1 in debt that he owed the United States. And they got the Wu-Tang album. And it's in this gold box. It's crazy. And some people say it's not even anything special. Yeah, but he bought it for $2 million, sold it for $2.2 to pay off that debt. Let's get the show cracking. Happy birthday to today, Maya Rudolph. She's one of the funniest. Today is 49. She was amazing in Idiocracy. All the other stuff, she's great. But Idiocracy, the documentary. Nicolaj Coster-Waldau today is 51. Of course, he played Jaime Lannister in the Game of Thrones. Remember the gold? He had one hand, the gold hand. Bobby Gentry today is 79. Nobody knows where Bobby Gentry lives. She just dropped out, took the money and run back in like 1980, I think. Nobody knows where she is today. Some say she lives in a gated community in Beverly Hills. Some say she's somewhere outside of Nashville, but nobody knows. But she was the singer and writer of Ode to Billy Joe. Maureen McGovern today is 72. She sang that song the morning after. I think that was the theme song. What was that? The Towering Inferno? The Poseidon Adventure? One of those. And also, Pantera bassist Rex Brown today is 57. Our dead guy's birthday today is moment of silence, please, for Carl Mueller. 1963 to 2005, died at the age of 42. Carl was the bass guitarist and founding member of Soul Asylum. Their 1993 hit, Runaway Train, huge hit, great song. Won a Grammy Award for Best Rock Song. They also scored a platinum record with the album Let Your Dim Light Shine 3 years later. Well, in May 2004, Carl, a longtime smoker, was diagnosed with cancer, and the band organized a benefit concert to help him with his medical bills. Well, he died of cancer in June 2005, a year later. As of 2020, Mueller is still credited as a member, right, of Soul Asylum on their Facebook page as a tribute. On this day in history, OTD, 1975. No, on this day in history. Oh, I've got it messed up. Oh, I did 2 Fader facts instead of an OTD. Do you want both Fader facts? Okay, Fader fact number 1. Malta has never experienced weather before freezing points. That's right. As in ever. That's pretty cool. Here, NASA's internet speed is 91 gigabytes per second. It is rumored that employees at NASA can download a full HD 4K movie in just 10 nanoseconds. And they do. All right. Tonight, very special guest William Henry is here. Tomorrow night, Jay Widener joins the show. Thursday night is Fader night with open lines all night long. All right, let me hit this River Moon coffee. Fade to Black blend. It's got my picture on it. It is the best coffee in the world. Head over to jimmychurchradio.com. Just click. There's River Moon. There's River Moon Wellness, River Moon Coffee. There's Amazon. Everything you need is right there. It is the best. And check out our wellness products, too, as well. Black Moon. Yeah. Under eye serum, CBD. That's what you need. I look pretty good, huh? I look pretty good. Under eye serum. Got to do it when you're my age. All right. As promised, my Men in Black SUV story from this past Saturday afternoon. And it's pretty trippy. And this is what happened. All right, man, I got to hit this coffee again. So I need you to paint this picture. And if you want to look on Google Maps and Google Earth, you can look up some of this stuff and maybe follow along this little jaunt that happened. And so I'm at Edwards Air Force Base, and I told you about, that sighting that happened on Friday, and then I went back to Edwards on Saturday, and I went back to that same spot, and I'm pretty far north. I'm next to Edwards, and you have to understand that out here, or out there, I should say, out there, it's wide open desert. It's the Mojave, and it's pretty remote. Couple of small towns. There's Lancaster and Palmdale, 20 miles south. But up where Edwards is, just look on a map. You can see that there's nothing there. Nothing. If you're going to do something in secret and have a crazy Air Force base in the middle of nowhere, that's where you're going to do it. Same thing with China Lake, the Navy installation that is just to the north. That is there. And, of course, you have Lockheed and you have Skunk Works and Virgin Galactic and all this other stuff that's going on. Okay, so I leave the area where I had that sighting on this road, and I drive back, and I'm following my GPS, and I get this crazy idea. I'm like, man, let's drive to the entrance of the base. So I'm following my GPS, and I go up, and I go to this little town called Rosamond. I've never heard of it. And it's small. I make a right-hand turn. I'm going up. I think it's like Rosamond Boulevard. And this road goes through the desert straight to the gates of Edwards. And I don't know what to expect. But anyway, I've got to make this quick before I run out of time. So I'm driving up, and I can see off in the distance what looks like a gatehouse. But in front of the gatehouse, as I'm pulling up the street, it's straight. No, suddenly it turns into this snake thing with, to stop cars. I was like, oh, crap. All right, I got to stop. And as I slow down, I look to my right, and I see these, there's 4 or 5 airplanes, maybe more, maybe 10, and they're off. It's like some kind of roadside museum right outside of the gate. And I pull in there. There's a parking lot. Parking lot's empty, and I pull into this parking lot, and I park my car, and I'm looking at the gate, and I can see the gate. And while I'm sitting in this parking lot, I'm all alone, right? Afternoon. Hot, and my fade to black SUV, my Jeep, and then out of the gate, and I see it coming, is a black SUV, and it comes out and then crosses, and it's brand new. It's like a GMC Suburban, and it crosses the street and pulls into the parking lot next to me. I'm like, what? That next, it's like 5 spaces down. It's an empty parking lot. And these airplanes are behind me. And I was going to get out and look at the planes, but now I'm kind of tripping. I was like, all right, okay. Tinted windows. I can't see anybody in it. And I just put my Jeep in reverse, and I pull out of the parking lot, and I head back away from the base up Rosamond. And I'm looking in my rear view, and dude pulls out of the parking lot, and he's now behind me. He's about a quarter mile back. And now I've got to drive like this 10 miles through the desert, and he's right behind me. And then I pull into the town of Rosamond. I have no idea where I am, and he's behind me. And I pull up to this stoplight. He's behind me. Now I drive straight. I don't even know where I'm going. I crossed the 14 freeway. I should have got on the 14. I didn't. And I drove down, and now I've got nothing but a couple of neighborhoods in front of me. I don't know what I'm doing. I can see stuff on my GPS. I turn left, and I go down about a quarter mile till I can't go any further, and I'm in this neighborhood. SUVs behind me. I make a left-hand turn. I'm looking at my GPS, seeing how I can get out of this neighborhood. I'm driving slowly, right behind me. I make a U-turn. I'm now coming up another street that is a cul-de-sac. I've got to turn around. Dude's behind me. I turn around on the cul-de-sac, and I head back out. I pass him. He does the same thing, turns around, follows me out of the neighborhood, back to the same street that I came in on, and I'm heading back to the main Rosamond Boulevard. He's still behind me. I turn right on Rosamond, and I'm like, man, and right there's a Rite Aid. I pull into the Rite Aid, and I got nothing to do, nothing to shop. I go into Rite Aid. I buy a bag of almonds with blueberries. I buy 2 little things of cheese baked crunchy. I don't even know what I grab the stuff. I go to the checkout. SUV sitting in the parking lot. I grab the stuff. I go back out. I get into my Jeep. I pull out. SUV follows me. And I go back, and it's about a half a mile, and I'm at the 14 freeway. I get on the 14 freeway and head south. The SUV goes straight back to Edwards. True story. Happened. Trippy. It was trippy. It was trippy. I didn't get to see anybody. That was the other thing. This is Fade to Black. It was crazy. It was fun. And and everything, I was so worried about the shake and bake that I forgot everything else that I should have done, which is videotape, take some pictures. And when I came out of the Rite Aid, I was going to snap a couple of shots, and I thought, no, I need to let this one go. I need to get out of this town of Rosamond. Look it up. There you go. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, right here, William Henry. We're going to be talking about that ancient ET connection. Tomorrow night, Jay Widener. That's right, his knowledge about the secret mystery schools and who is running the world today. Thursday night is Fader Night with open lines all night long. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. I'll be right back with William Henry, live from Nashville. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact. KGRAradio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, folks. It's troubling times, and fear is pushing emotions, which in turn pushes health the wrong direction. Do you ever get an ache because life is uneasy? Try Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. Life Change Tea works on your digestive tract, helping to move food through quicker and comfortably so your health is spot on. Life Change Tea may not help with world issues, but it will help with your digestive issues. A glass a day helps keep the intruders away. So, change your life today. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. If your health game is off, get on by ordering Life Change Tea. Getthetea.com. And while you're on our site, look around at the great non-GMO organic supplements. And if you're a sales shopper, go to our specials page and see what's for you. I've been drinking the tea for 12 years and I'm sure glad for its health benefits. Again, that's getthetea.com. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
Fadernauts. When you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the planet.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, William Henry joins us. Want to remind everybody, tomorrow night, Jay Widener is doing a drive-by. It's going to be great. And then Thursday night, of course, is open lines with Fader Night all night long. But tonight, it's all about William. William joins us to carry on our private conversations over the last month. But tonight, you get to be a part of it. It's going to be great. William is a Nashville-based author, investigative mythologist, and a TV presenter. He is an internationally recognized authority on human spiritual potential, transformation, and ascension, with over 30 years of research distilled into 18 books and numerous video presentations. He incorporates everything: historical, religious, spiritual, scientific, archaeological, and other forms of such knowledge into factually based theories and conclusions that we are actually experiencing right now in our lifetime. Of course, he is a contributor and a contributing producer, I might add, to Ancient Aliens and host of the Gaia series, The Awakened Soul, The Lost Science of Ascension, and Arcanum. His latest books are all available over at williamhenry.net, and I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black William Henry. William, it just seems like yesterday, man.
I know. It was so great spending time with you, Jimmy.
It was awesome, and it was really funny. Everybody, Dolan and I and Linda and stuff, but I was constantly on my phone. William, let's go to dinner. William, what are you doing? William, let's go. And it was a great hang, man. It was a great week.
Well, your incredible positive personality is just contagious. I don't want to use that word really, in the context of a virus, but you lift all the boats, Jimmy. You really do.
You know what? I appreciate that, but right back at you. And your knowledge and everything that we got into over the week. How fun was it to just sit and break windows and chop it up with Linda and of course Richard Dolan and the cast, the crew. It was just an amazing week.
It really was, and of course Whitley Strieber was there as well. And one of the things that I love that we did is we brought in the presence of Jim Mars, and that meant a lot to me too.
And we did that more than once. We did that. We actually did that more than once. And one of the interesting things was watching and listening to you and Whitley and to you and Linda and Richard, because they all wanted to turn to you and get your input on everything and how focused they were. That was just great. And we were just having dinner, right? It was just absolutely amazing. It was, and I know that the audience is like, man, I want to be able to do that someday. And I am honored and privileged to be able to sit at a table like that. And also when the cameras were rolling too as well, to be a part of this amazing dialogue that we were able to capture most of it on camera.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, Jimmy, it was at least 20 years in the making. I think I had my first telephone conversation with Linda Moulton Howe around 1996, 1997, somewhere in there. So that week, that time spent with everybody it had me thinking back to those first conversations and how far we've come.
Yeah, absolutely. And these are truly exciting times, and you could really feel that with everybody there. The energy level was totally high all week long. We had stuff to say, and the conversation never stalled, right? It never what you know what I mean? It was constantly. And to have everybody ask questions from somebody else. And I'm being serious, everybody. This is over dinner. Close a restaurant twice. Sat there for hours and hours. It was just amazing. Now, I wanted to ask you this. I want to start off in a very strange direction, but I just told a story of me getting followed by a black SUV, and I asked for it. It happened this weekend at Edwards Air Force Base. I asked for it. I'm in a Jeep, a black Jeep that has Fade to Black license plates on it. Right. And so it's pretty ominous. And I was just asking for trouble, and I got followed. Have you ever bumped into what you may think, the Men in Black or any strange cars? Have you ever had that experience?
No cars, but there was one time I was on the Art Bell program back around 98, somewhere in there, and I had my car broken into right after the program.
Oh, What happened? What?
Yeah, I was talking about Rennes-le-Château, France, that mysterious village in southern France, where they believe some of the Templar treasure could be, and there's this mysterious coded parchment. And I was talking about how I had decoded that parchment, and it led me to a particular element that was being researched at some cancer research institutes as a blood purifying supposition was that this was something that the Templars would have been interested in, and that because they were all about awakening consciousness, and my research led me to the conclusion, or the supposition rather, that the Templars were growing cannabis in southern France, using it as an organic distillery to bring this element up out of the earth, and then they would, as is documented, make oil out of the cannabis and stick it in their ear with the blood, where the blood vessels element could get into their bloodstream. And Art Bell, of course, asked the question, well, what's the element? And I said, well, Art, I don't want to say on the air right now. I'm still continuing my research, and I don't want anybody to go out and start playing around with it and maybe hurt themselves. Well, it was like a December night, excuse me, like a December night. And it was, in fact, there was an ice storm in Nashville the next night, and I was due to drive to Atlanta to attend a conference, speak at a conference with Zecharia Sitchin. And during this ice storm, I had rented a car, and during this ice storm, I had my car parked out front. I picked up, and who does this? I gathered every scrap of paper, books, my computer, my laptop computer. I took everything I had about Rennes-le-Château, about the Templars, about this element, and I put it in a box. And I went outside in the middle of an ice storm and put it in the back of my car. And I get up the next morning to drive to Atlanta, and guess what? There's nothing in the car. And it just left me thinking, what was I thinking? I mean, who does that? No one in their right mind packs their car in an ice storm. There were no tracks in the driveway. There was no, the police came, I filed a police report, and they asked a kind of a strange, what I thought was sort of a strange question. Well, is there anybody that would want to break into your car for anything you had in that car? And I'm like,
a lot. You know? Yeah, right.
It goes down as one of the stupidest things I've ever done, but it's always kind of haunted me because I know that somebody was listening, obviously.
Yeah, there's no coincidences. I refuse to go down that road these days. I'm just right there. I'm right there. Well, did you ever get anything back?
Never did. Never saw any of that again. It took me years to rebuild it, and it kind of compelled me to sort of abandon the research that I was doing, actually.
And what about putting stuff in your car?
No, I mean, I've never done that before and never done it since. And I've always thought, gosh, it's must have been. It feels like some kind of mind control or something. That made me do that, because that is completely out of character for me. I would simply not have done that, nor did I have any reason to take any of that research to Atlanta. I wasn't talking about any of that.
I did one thing one time very similar in that I had this old Datsun B210 hatchback. Loved that car, stick shift, and I was literally in between, like, moving into this house where my studio was in Hollywood from Glendale, California. And in my car, I had like a suitcase, but I also had some posters and things and yearbook, stuff, right? Just stuff. Most of my stuff was already moved, but I had this other stuff in my car. I parked it on Hollywood Boulevard and went into my rehearsal studio. and to grab a guitar. And I grab the guitar. I come back out, and my car's gone. And I was inside for like 15 minutes. I'm like, it was right here. What? You know? And I call the police. I report the car stolen. And it was about a week later, I get a phone call from the police. They found the car. And wow. I was, oh, great. All my stuff's gone. All of it. Oh. Everything. And I get the car back. All of my personal belongings was gone. So that was it. That was the last time, William, I put my personal stuff in the car. Just not going to do it. I'm not going to park. Just like you, right? You did it that one time, and you learn your lesson. So there you go.
Exactly.
Well, earlier today, I was, and this is kind of where I want to start tonight. Earlier today, I was over on Christina Gomez's live stream, and great conversation. Part of the conversation, strangely enough, was about some of the things that we were talking about a couple of weeks ago. So I want to kind of circle back and revisit this. And it is this. The ancient gods and the demigods of ancient Egypt in pre-dynastic Egypt, those gods, to me, were always like hybrids. And you know, and I'm talking about Thoth and these representations of, you know, a human body with another head on top of it. And I always found that interesting in that today that would freak people out, you know, a reptilian with a human body, right? Right. But back then, it was part of their religion, their circles, what they identified with, and they were comfortable. But the bigger question here is what do you think was being represented? Imagination or the possibility of something more real and tangible?
Well, at first glance, yeah, absolutely. It's going to be symbolic, but then why couldn't it be real? Why couldn't it be literal? Why wouldn't it be possible? I mean, we know we're starting to genetically alter and create hybrid beings ourselves, so perhaps they could have done that back then. When I think about those pre-dynastic gods, I'm also thinking of what was described in the Edfu creation text, where at first they're non-material, then they take on physicality. And so perhaps these non-physical beings are experimenting with different modes of physicality and just trying to find a way to express themselves to people that might not fully understand what they're looking at.
With when you think of like Anubis, right, or Thoth, or some of these other gods, it is it pop culture that makes them scary? Is that the right word? And
yeah, I mean, when Stargate came out, for example, in the 90s, I mean, that was clear that Dean Devlin, who wrote that, had obviously been reading Zecharia Sitchin and looked at some of his takes on the Anunnaki and had seen representations of the Egyptian gods, and they made those gods really come alive in that film. And I think that really anchors the image for a lot of people that they are going to be terrifying, but that may not necessarily be so.
And not terrifying to them, those ancient cultures. Right.
But to us.
Yeah, but to us. I mean, Anubis, seriously, I mean, it's dark, but it's only because of the way it's been represented to me today. Do you think that, going back to the imagination part, they didn't have access to science fiction, right? All the great stuff that we have today. They didn't have access to that. For them, this was their world, right? There isn't a better way to say it than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's as natural. It was probably as natural for them as it is natural for us to walk down the street and see a cat or a dog and accept what we're encountering. And there's been how many species that have gone extinct that would have been totally natural for people to encounter and fully accept them as well. So yeah, I could definitely see that point of view, Jimmy, where they just say, yeah, this is the way it is, and they're okay with that.
How advanced of a culture do you have to be to have something so complex? And it is, the afterlife and the gods and what they represent and how you get there, and the logistics that were clearly mapped out in the ancient text about all of this and these other worlds. It's fascinating to me. How advanced of a culture were they?
Well, we have the same brain, we have the same physiology that they had, so their intelligence and ours would be approximately the same. But what is different is that we primarily live in one world. We live in the material world. We sometimes think about an afterlife, when they routinely thought in terms of at least three levels: the underworld, our material existence, the middle world, and then the upper worlds. And they had those worlds all mapped out. They had the geographies worked out about how you navigate them, the portals, the gateways, the passwords that are required to go through those portals and gateways, and that was their obsession. And this is something that we've completely lost touch with, and most people today are entirely focused on this world, and then also now the digital realm, where we're half in this world, and some of us are more than half in the digital world.
And the other part where the references to these, the pharaohs, the leaders, and so forth, are going to a specific star system, and their focus on that. Now we're getting into what appears to be a pretty advanced knowledge of astronomy and the stars, and we're talking about 2,500 to 4,000 years ago.
Right. Right, and I mean that was kind of my I call it my Robert Bauval moment when, of course, when he looks at the three pyramids of Giza and sees that they're a mirror image of the three belt stars of Orion. My Robert Bauval moment was when I looked up on the ceiling at the Temple of Hathor at Dendera and saw the pharaohs writing on the Ark of the Millions of Years, and I noticed that they look exactly. The Ark of the Millions of Years looks exactly like the way modern science portrays a wormhole. So what if it's possible this is how the ancient Egyptian gods actually traveled the stars? And that I'm still operating on that hypothesis 20 years later.
Is it something where this knowledge, I mean, it comes from somewhere. And right. I say that the cell phone wasn't invented by Steve Jobs, right? That is a series of things that lead up to something. The knowledge always comes from somewhere. And now, if we're going to jump back to this, was the knowledge terrestrial? Did it come from another advanced civilization from before? Or are we thinking possibly from the stars?
Well, that's the ultimate question, and I don't have the certain answer to that. But it does. I do marvel at this correspondence of the shape of the Ark of the Millions of Years and how it corresponds with the wormhole, because you look at the shape of the papyrus boats that the Egyptians sail on, and that also resembles the wormhole. So then the question becomes, well, which came first, the idea of the celestial wormhole or the earthly boat? And is it just coincidence? There are no coincidences that the earthly boat now matches the way modern science portrays or images the wormhole. I think there's some level of symbolism here deep in the mind that we're tapping into, and ancient cultures had already tapped into this as well. And did that knowledge come from the stars originally, or was it developed by some previous advanced civilization? We don't know for sure. I guess if I had to make a choice, I would say it came from celestial civilizations, because in the creation text, they always describe the gods coming from somewhere else. They don't say the gods came up out of the earth. They always describe the gods coming from elsewhere.
And what about, okay, so we've got 2 minutes before the break, and we'll carry on when we come back. When the references of the kingdom of heaven is there, is that celestial? Because it doesn't seem earthbound. It's always up. It's up there, and it's not down here. Do you think that is what these references to the kingdom of heaven are? Other planets out there.
I do, yeah, because heaven is accessed through Orion's gate, so it's telling us that it's celestial. In the stars.
And when you read the biblical text, do you convert the text in your mind, right, to these direct references out there? Are you translating it as you read?
Yeah, of course. You're building a picture here. These are in some of these instances, these are rehearsals. They intend for these sacred texts to be like scripts that you'll rehearse over and over, so that in your own moment of transition or ascension, you will know exactly where you're going and how you're going to get there.
Is that blasphemous? Right? Is it? You know what I mean? In some circles, they may look at like, what do you? Why are you interpreting it this way?
Yeah, it would be blasphemous because in certain circles, but I don't worry about that because everybody gets to decide how they're going to approach this personally, and I don't mind being called a blasphemer or anything like that.
A blasphemer. The comments that I've made over the years is that I went back to the Bible, and I've done this many times. I just started reading, and anytime it's angel, I just inserted that in my mind's eye with E.T., right? Aliens, and I just read the text that way, and it just fit, William.
Yeah, it does. It truly does fit. And then especially when you're talking about the aliens interacting with humans and taking on physicality, there's often descriptions of these interactions, and these can only be these interactions can only be possible if these angels have a physical being. And that's what's so intriguing to me, is especially how the angels phase from their non-physical form into the physical form to interact with humans. And that's something that I think we're really starting to have to take a serious look at right now.
Let's take our break right here. Our guest tonight, William Henry. I am your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Tonight, we are going to do a deep dive into the ancient ET connection. We're going to do all of it. It's going to be a very wide-ranging and broad conversation. Stay right there. I'll be right back with William Henry. This is Fade to Black.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30daysfree on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Because you never got that pony you always wanted. Damn it. Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network. KGRADB.com.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer. Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, William Henry. And we've got a very deep conversation that is about to continue. And but before we get there, I've got a little bit of an announcement to make tonight. William will be joining us for the Conscious Life Expo. There's two of them coming up. The first one will be in September. It's September 17th, 18th, and 19th. At the LAX Hilton in Los Angeles. You can get all of your information by going over to ConsciousLifeExpo.com and checking out everything there. And I just got this text in about you, and this is coming from Quicksilver, the how do I want to say that? The proprietor, right?
The producer.
The producer of the Conscious Life Expo. And he says this: the first 10 people who buy a ticket for William's workshop tonight, this is tonight, will get a free day pass for that day on Sunday. Seats are limited because of the times, so there will only be 150 attendees in the room. They also get a free live stream to view whenever they like. And that's all you have to do. So go over to consciouslifeexpo.com, and I'll put up the links in Twitter, and I'll see if I can hit it throughout social media. But the first 10 people tonight to buy a pass for William's presentation on Sunday get a free day pass, and you can come and hang out right there at the Conscious Life Expo. Hang out with me, hang out with William. We've got a lot of great things going on September 17th, 18th, and 19th here in Los Angeles. Also, William, you're going to be on my panel.
Yeah, is that Friday or Saturday?
I think that I don't know. Okay, I'm doing a bunch of things. I know that I am interviewing for the keynote. I'm interviewing Daniel Sheehan. The two of us are going to be alone on stage together for 90 minutes, and I think that is Saturday. So maybe the panel is Friday. Or is the panel Saturday?
It's such a great weekend. I was so excited when Serena called me the other day to tell me they're doing a September version of the event, because I know people are just really itching to get together and get some FaceTime and everything. So I really appreciate them including me in the weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And the other part of this is a scaled down version of the big event that happens every February. But this event is also going on at the same time in London at the Hilton in London. So when we wrap our live stream, this is an in-person event, but we're also live streaming at the same time. So when we wrap our live stream here, then they pick up over in London and continue for another 8 or 10 hours. So this is a full-on weekend for everybody to get involved. It's going to be a lot of fun. So head over to consciouslifeexpo.com and purchase your tickets for William. You're going to get a free day pass. The first 10 people that do it get a free day pass, and you come and hang out with us. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. I'm so looking forward. FaceTime. Oh, man. Yeah, I don't ever want to talk about 2020 for the rest of my life. It's I'm defragging that part of my hard drive. So
it's history.
Now it is. Now back to the conversation. There is another part of this where today with pop culture, William, with the movies and alien invasions and things that happen all the time. That's how we see E.T. today, or at least most of the world, right? They see it through the Hollywood lens. But take me back to, 4,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago. What were the cultures like when they were interacting? Were they intimidated? Were they scared of an extraterrestrial civilization?
I don't think so. I feel that, when you go back to the Sumerians, for example, and you're talking about the Anunnaki, we have to, right off the bat, we have to just kind of move away from the Sitchin theories about the Anunnaki creating humans as slaves and all this kind of thing, because that was his own interpretation. The Sumerian texts do not say any of that. And so what they do say is that the Anunnaki came here as benevolent beings to assist humanity in our ascension. When they create the first human being, Adapa, the first thing they do is they take him up to heaven. The text is called the Ascension of Adapa. And so from that perspective, the first humans who interacted with these beings recorded that they were here to assist us and were benevolent beings. And while there could be some certainly reverence for them. There was not the fear put into it like we see being inculcated by Hollywood these days.
And why do you think that is?
Why do I think Hollywood is doing that?
No. Why do you think that there wasn't any fear?
Well, I think in large part because we were their creation. In the Egyptian text, when they talk about the gods like Ptah, he is the god that fashioned the human body. There are no stories that tell us to fear Ptah. The stories instead tell us that Ptah was a great benefactor of humanity. He brought this knowledge about how certainly the Pharaoh and other humans ultimately could scale the ladder to heaven, how we could phase into a higher form of existence. And so from that perspective, it was more like a teacher-student relationship rather than a master-slave relationship.
And do you think that the cultures that were starting all around the world were in the midst of discovery, right? Everything is new. They're discovering new cultures that, a kingdom that could be a couple of 100 miles away that they never knew existed, right? Everything is new. They are meeting and discovering new things every single day. And if an extraterrestrial civilization shows up, they're just part of that discovery and wonderment.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, when the Earth was new, first of all, there weren't very large populations to begin with, and the knowledge was restricted to a very small area that you were living in. Of course, they did have the ability to travel the world, but for the most part, you're right. People are living in kind of a tribal scenario where they're very isolated and aren't aware of what's going on in the wider world. And then all of a sudden you have these interactions with these super advanced beings who appear to have emerged as if out of nowhere and tell them that, hey, we're here to help you become more like us.
Today, there was some breaking news right before the show, right in your wheelhouse, in that the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Gilgamesh Dream Tablet has been confiscated by the United States. And, of course, this was in possession of Hobby Lobby. But if we go back to the Epic of Gilgamesh, and certainly the Dream Tablet is a big part of that, and we look at Edfu and that 10,000-year representation that is on the wall, is all of this the same in that the Epic of Gilgamesh and what is represented there is very close to what is represented at Edfu, right?
Well, the Gilgamesh text isn't as much a creation text. Like when you think of like the Sumerian or Assyrian creation text, you're thinking of like the Enuma Elish or a text like that. The Gilgamesh text is more of, I think of it as like more of a hero's journey type of a story. It's an ascension story. It's about Gilgamesh trying to transform himself. He's told by a goddess Inanna that he's 2/3 divine and 1/3 human, and that sets up the archetypal quest for all of humanity. And it's about how he navigates through that scenario, among others. But the Edfu creation text is more of it reads like sci-fi. I mean, it's all about these non-material beings that come to Earth and create this island civilization, the island of the egg. They are non-material beings that suddenly take on physicality. It reads very much. In fact, I've written an article about this on my website, williamhenry.net, comparing what's written in the Edfu creation text with what we talk about today with artificial intelligence and nanotechnology. I mean, because they're literally creating a civilization out of nothing. And in the Edfu creation text is where we learn what I think of as the source material for the Atlantis story. It tells of the destruction of this island civilization, that there were survivors, that they were able to stash away relics from this civilization, reclaim them after the cataclysm, and restart civilization. I mean, it is the Atlantis story.
When people ask me about Egypt, and I haven't been there, you've been there many, many, many times, but I'm heading there in March, and you were pretty excited about that, and
I'm very excited for you, Jimmy. Very excited.
And for me, there's Luxor and there's Giza and Dendara, and yes, I get all of that. It's Edfu for me, right? And when I'm asked about that, and I start to speak about the Edfu creation text and what it represents, is there anything else like it in all of Egypt, which is covered with remarkable things?
No, I mean, that is so unique, that text, and it is unique to Edfu, and nobody knows exactly how old the Edfu creation text is. I mean, while that temple was built around 300 BC, the story is much older. In fact, the second time that I went to Egypt, Nat Geo went with me, and they were doing a series called Atlantis, Is It Real? And I had popped off with my theory that the Edfu creation texts were the source material for the Atlantis story. And so Nat Geo sends a producer over, and they're, oh, we love this story. We've never heard this before. This is so cool. You have really laid out a really compelling argument showing that these creation texts that must be where Plato got the story. And can you talk about extraterrestrials? And so I did. And little did I know that this producer was the sheep or the lamb, but waiting back in D.C. was the wolf, who was going to do everything conceivable to just completely trash my take on this connection, because obviously, Nat Geo has its own point of view, and it does not include really validating the Atlantis story or pinpointing where this would have come from. And one of their arguments was, it was kind of funny. They said, William Henry, what he doesn't realize is that Plato lived in 450 or 600 BC, and this temple wasn't built until 300 BC, so he's a moron. There's no way Plato could have learned this story. And that the logic they're using is kind of like saying, well, your Gideon Bible that you just read in your hotel room last night was published in 2012, which means none of the events in that book could have taken place before 2012.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And yeah, go ahead.
And so it just left me realizing, gosh, this is how this really works. And this is what was so great when Ancient Aliens came along, by the way, is that they allowed presenters and theorists such as myself to talk without a fear of knowing that there's some wolf sitting back there that just wants to make a barbecue out of you to make a political point, to support their point of view.
Now, the age of Egypt, which Cleopatra is closer to you and I today than she was with ancient Egypt. Right? That's only a 2,000-year span to get to us. But Egypt is, even if you just go to Mene, that's 3,000 BC. So that's 1,000 years off just right there without going beyond that into the pre-dynastic times. And so those texts that were written at Edfu had been established already for thousands of years.
Exactly. And the King's List at Abydos supports that. The Turin King's List supports that. That goes back into pre-dynastic times, even as far back as tens of thousands of years, 40,000 years. And what is so interesting to me also about Edfu is that it's not the original temple that was there at Edfu. The temple at Edfu today is a copy of the original, and the myth says that the original temple of Edfu came out of the sky, which is incredible to think about. I mean, what do you mean by that? The whole thing just dropped out of the sky, or was it suddenly like materialized, or what? And that is something that just utterly fascinates me about being in Egypt, is that it's such a layer cake. And in fact, when you're at Dendera, you can be standing in a room and you look beneath your feet and you see the top of a column that was part of the former temple that's underneath Dendera. And almost all of the Egyptian temples are built on the pad of the former temple that was there before.
Now, there's another part of the Edfu text, and I'm so glad that we're talking about it, because I've done my share of research diving into it, because I think it is seriously one of the most fascinating parts of all of Egypt. But
I agree.
There is mention of a great flood in that text, too, as well. Which would not only predate the Bible, but predate everything. But it also supports, well, it goes back to the Epic of Gilgamesh, too, as well, but other flood myths with other cultures around the world.
Absolutely. And that's what led me to think. What had happened, I had read Dr. Eve Raymond's interpretation of the Edfu text. They had never been translated. She's a Manchester University Egyptologist from England, of course, and she had this book, The Mythic Origins of the Temple, where she translated the Edfu creation text. And I'm reading this going, wait a minute, this is Atlantis. This is the Atlantis story. And of course, Dr. Raymond, she wasn't going to say anything like that, because she's an academic.
You can't.
But
you can't. You know what? Let me jump in. I remember, I think you were on the panel, but Robert Schock, yeah, I'm pretty sure you were there. But anyway, Schock said on the panel, he said, look, I just have difficulty bringing up the A word, and you can't do it in academia. And I said, what's the A word? He goes, oh, you think it's aliens? No. It's Atlantis, right? And I was like, really? So you can't, the A word, the Atlantis, you cannot bring up in academia. And just like you just said right there, she's going to have to do the dance around this. It's obvious what is represented there, but she can't go there. She can't bring up the A word.
Right. And so then the story continued for me a few years ago. It's probably been 5 years ago now. I can't believe it. But I wrote an article called Ancient Alien Artificially Intelligent Astro Chickens, Self-Replicating Robots in the Ancient Egyptian Island of the Egg. And what this was, as I mentioned a moment ago, was just an analysis of the Edfu creation text, asking the question, is it possible that this is describing AI and nanotechnology? Because essentially what the Edfu texts begin with is this idea was that there was a sort of a divine bird that laid an egg, which is why it's called the Island of the Egg, and from this egg emerged these formless light beings. That's Dr. Raymond's description of the beings that came out of this egg. They're formless light beings. They're non-material beings that phase into physicality, and they become the first order of gods in ancient Egypt. And I'm reading this again in light of AI, and I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. There are researchers, some of it's kind of sci-fi. John von Neumann, certainly not sci-fi, but he and Freeman Dyson, Eric Drexler, and others, they talk about how there would be what Dyson called an astro chicken that would be a robotic device that would patrol around the various star systems looking for life. If it found signs of life, it would land on the planet, and from out of this astro chicken would pop a sort of an egg that's packed with nanotechnology, biological materials, DNA, everything you need to start a civilization with. And this is exactly what is described, in my opinion, in the Edfu creation text. And it suggests that, hey, maybe there's a whole nother layer of technology that's being described in these texts that only today are we able to decipher.
Now, we talked about coincidences earlier. Dyson, who I think is one theories and ideas of of the universe and what may be out there and created out there, he's one of the best, right? Absolutely can theorize and think of things better than just about anybody. But what are the odds of him reading her book or the Edfu creation text?
Right. He didn't. I mean, at least not to my knowledge, right? But what it is saying is that these texts are so symbolic that they can be interpreted on many levels, and especially today on the technological level. And I think it's important that we do that, because as we begin to migrate into space, there's only two ways that we're going to do that. We're either going to go as robots or we're going to go as light beings, because our flesh and blood bodies simply can't exist in space. And so when we go back into the Edfu text and we were encountering these formless beings that shape their solid physical bodies out of a weird substance described in the text as that she just spells it BNNT. Nobody knows what it is. But she does say that the Edfu texts tell us that the original gods of Egypt were formless light beings who then phased into physicality. And they are the ones that started Egyptian civilization.
Now, are you comfortable with that? Right? I mean, in that you can just resolve it in your mind and go, yeah, this makes sense.
I am comfortable with that, and the reason, are you talking specifically about the
light beings,
the formless light being
yes.
nature of the first gods?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I am comfortable with that, because then later you find stories repeated about the gods that are like that. Ptah, for example, I mentioned a moment ago, the Egyptian god of technology, if you will. He, according to E.A. Wally Budge in his Egyptian Hieroglyphic Dictionary, it says right there, Ptah was a master of craftsmen, working in metals, fashioner of the bodies of men. You look to his hieroglyph, look, there's a double helix in his hieroglyph. There's also a square and a compass. So he's the master craftsman, and obviously he knows something about DNA, because he fashioned the human body. He didn't create it, he tweaked it. And of course, no card-carrying Egyptologist is willing to admit that the ancient Egyptians knew anything about DNA. However, their god of craftsmen who fashioned the human body just happens to have a double helix in his hieroglyph. Well, Ptah, according to Egyptian mythology, emerged from out of the blue. He's a manifested being. And that sounds to me like a formless light being phasing into physicality. The pyramid texts are devoted to Ptah, and what those are describing is the transformation of the pharaoh into a plasma state of being. The pharaoh became like lightning. That's plasma. So what it's saying is that the pyramid texts, the oldest religious texts in the world, which are the software for the hardware of the pyramids, tells us that it was all about human transformation or phasing into a different state of being.
I encourage everybody. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and all of us, and going back to this DNA representation in Ptah's hieroglyph, which is right there. Just go and look. That is a double helix. It's
yes,
right.
It is.
And today
Egyptologists say it's a string, but they don't say it's a string of what. It's a string of molecules is what it is.
It's a string of DNA. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, William Henry is our guest. This conversation is just getting started. Stay right there. It's Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. We'll be right back.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRAradio.com.
tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Fadernauts. When you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRAradio.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. See what William Henry's got me so freaked out. I'm thinking tonight. More with William in just a second. Want to talk to you about, look, everybody needs their own VPN today. You've got to do it. There is just no questions about any of that. I use Virtual Shield. I have Virtual Shield's VPN on all of my computers. It is so important. And not only that on your home computers, but how about your cell phone? How about your search history and what you're doing on your cell phone? You need to think about that. All right? You shut down your computer, you leave the house, that stuff is following you. You've got to get Virtual Shield today. I use it on everything. I've got it on my cell phones, my tablets. Virtual Shield VPN. You can get your entire family safe. And it's all easy to do. Click on the link in the video description box below. Head straight over to Virtual Shield. It's that easy. You will get Virtual Shield for 50% off today. You can type in to your browser, virtualshield.com, Fade to Black. You can do that. You can go over to the website, jimmychurchradio.com. Click on the Virtual Shield banners there. All of it will get you Virtual Shield VPN for 50% off today. You've got to do it and do it now. Virtual Shield is not only one of the great sponsors of the show, but it is a product that I believe in and I use every single day. Get it now. Our guest tonight, William Henry. Now, William, let's jump back. Let's stay on Edfu for a second, but not in the way that you may think. But if we go back to Edfu, and I hope you say, Jimmy, you really do think about this stuff, because I do. And if you go back, there is something in Egypt's history that confounds me, and it's the Narmer palette. And the reason why the Narmer palette confuses me, it's two-sided. It's 3000 BC, before Giza, before anything. And if we go over to Mesopotamia and we talk about ancient Sumer, in my eyes, it predates even that. But something unique allegedly happened at that moment. And Egyptologists will say that we went from Stone Age peasants roaming the deserts to a completely upright and complete civilization overnight. Well, I call BS on that. And I call BS on that because of the Edfu creation. And if we think about this and everything that is represented in the Edfu creation text, they didn't just do this overnight. They were already complete for 7, 10, 15,000 years prior to 3000 BC and Mene and Narmer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, 3100 BC, of course, is also, that's your magic wake-up call all around the world from the devastation of the cataclysm at the end of the Younger Dryas. It suddenly, everything starts to wake up then. It's not just Egypt. This is when you've got the builders of Stonehenge leave Turkey around Göbekli Tepe, make their way up to the Orkneys, then down to Wiltshire and build Stonehenge. So there's something going on at that time that it says it's time to kickstart civilization once again. And yeah, I totally agree with you that long before 3100 BC, long before 10,000 BC, there was a super advanced civilization on this planet.
And we go back constantly to Göbekli Tepe these days for good reason, in that not only geologists, but archaeologists and anthropologists and historians and Egyptologists will always say there was nothing before 3000 BC. Give us an example of something before 3000 BC and we can have a conversation. Well, boom, right. Göbekli Tepe right. comes along, right? And it's 7,000 years older than Giza, and to my eyes, just as elegant and sophisticated as anything else. That was 7,000 years later, William.
Totally. I mean, I have not been to Göbekli Tepe yet. I was headed there in 2016, but then we got derailed by a war on the border there in Syria. And I can't wait to go and just feel and experience that place, because it's to me it is going to be like the major touchstone of and the place of emergence as well for civilization. I mean, on Ancient Aliens, we did one of my favorite episodes was about Stonehenge, and we had talked a lot about Stonehenge in different episodes, but we never did one exclusively about Stonehenge. And what was so amazing about it is that we got into the world's largest genetic study. It was conducted at Harvard, and it set out to prove what everybody in England knows to be true, and that is that the modern-day Brits, or English people, rather, are the descendants of the builders of Stonehenge. And what this study showed builder, which was the 2500 to 3000 BC, that's within a couple hundred years after building Stonehenge, the builders of Stonehenge vanished. They're not in England. They're not in Ireland. They're not in Scotland. They don't know what happened to them. And this sent a bombshell through archaeology. And one of the things that they showed in this study was that the builders of Stonehenge came from southeastern Turkey, probably Göbekli Tepe.
Which was the Armenian back then. It wasn't Turkey either.
Right,
And
right. But what we call southeastern Turkey today. Exactly.
Yes, it was the Armenian highlands. And if we back that up, one of the questions that I think all of us had was that if there's Göbekli Tepe, then there's got to be more. There has to be.
Exactly.
Right?
Oh, I know.
And they just released last month, and I'm sure you're very aware of this, that they have found 11 more Göbekli Tepes in a 60-kilometer circle surrounding Göbekli Tepe. And the new name for the area now is 12 Tepe, because they found 11 more sites. Crazy is that? And we don't even know the dating of this. How far back are we going to jump from 10,000 BC, 11,000 BC, 12,000? And what are the ages of these additional 11 tepes?
Right, exactly. I mean, they had already said it's going to take hundreds of years to fully excavate what we found at Göbekli Tepe 5 years ago. And now you add the new sites, it's going to be like never ending. I mean, it is so incredible to think possibly what is there. I mean, it just, all roads seem to lead to Göbekli Tepe and certainly to Sanli Urfa.
Yeah. And Urfa Man and the age of Urfa Man, when I don't want to go too far sideways here, but when you look at Urfa Man and you look at, of course, the artwork at Göbekli Tepe, that is not a stone-aged dude, right? No. He's got elegant clothes. He's got his belt. He's got the wrong amount of fingers. And doesn't he have he's got two peepees too as well, which I always thought was kind of strange. And I don't know what to put on that part of it. But going back to the artwork that is there, these the sculptors that built and quarried Göbekli Tepe and Urfa Man, there had to have been. This isn't what happened at Giza, at 3000 BC with the Narmer Palette uniting, Upper and Lower Egypt.
Right.
What happened there was 7,000 years prior had to have been an organized civilization with farming, feeding, quarrying, artwork, governance, possibly organized religion. But this wasn't people foraging for seeds in the dirt.
No. I mean, this idea about hunter-gatherers completely has to just be thrown out the window. And that's what we're in the process of doing now. And then the same type of consciousness was available then when they built the Great Pyramid. And I do, though, think, Jimmy, that I think the pyramids were built way before 3000 BC.
And
2500 BC.
Sure. I think the date that Egyptologists want us to swallow there is 2650 BC, and I have a hard time with that. Let me ask you why. Why do you think they predate, and how long do you think they're predated?
Well, I'm following the path laid out by John Anthony West and Robert Schoch, especially concerning the dating of the Sphinx and the Valley Temple beside the Sphinx, that red granite architecture, the Cyclopean masonry that is the hallmark of that vastly more ancient civilization. You find the same type of construction material and architecture in the Osirion, which is behind the Temple of Seti at Abydos, and people like Schoch and John Anthony West date that to around 10,000 BC as well. So I think those, because they're so similar to one another, if we can date one to that super ancient date, then the others fall right in.
Going back to the movie Stargate, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the best scenes in the movie is one of the shortest. But it's it's at the Met, and the presentation is being given, and one of the audience members asked one of the best questions ever. Well, okay, if the Egyptians didn't build the pyramid, then who did? And what was the response? Well, I don't know. And everybody gets up and leaves, right? Well, that's what we keep coming back to that, William. Okay, if the Egyptians didn't build it and they inherited it, then who built the Great Pyramid? So I'm going to throw that straight out at you, straight from the movie Stargate.
Well, if I'm giving you my best straight answer, and again, I'm not saying I have evidence for this answer, but I'm going pre-flood. I'm going with it doesn't have to be an Atlantean civilization, but a pre-flood civilization. I think those are pre-flood constructions. And when from the very first time that I stood before the Great Pyramid and went into the Great Pyramid, I just kept hearing non-human. And I still feel that way today. And I mean that with the greatest respect to the Egyptian people and their Egyptologist theory about who built the pyramids. Just my personal gut, my intuition says non-human.
And is there, okay, so your gut is giving you that answer, but let's talk about a couple of facts. If we are going back to pre-flood, now we're suggesting 15,000, 20,000, 30,000 years. I mean, it's a wide open timeline there. But then there's the other part that supports that, which is the lack of any writing inside of the Great Pyramid. In that there were no hieroglyphics when those pyramids were built.
And the hieroglyphs that are in there are probably of much later date, like more recent date, like just a couple hundred years old.
And are you referring to the relief chambers above the King's Chamber?
Exactly. Yes.
And now we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, so let's visit this again. And we spent so much time on this, and I know that it's all gone to the ether, but let me see if I can extract this back out of you. There are no, and this is the fact, there isn't any inscriptions, there are no carvings, there are no hieroglyphics anywhere inside of the Great Pyramid except for the relief chambers above the the King's Chamber, and those are painted. Correct? I mean, those are not inscribed by
no,
a
they're
scribe.
not inscribed. They're painted in kind of red ochre kind of looking, not ink, but paint.
Now, why, in your estimation, I just want your opinion, why would a pharaoh build this beautiful, the most ginormous thing on planet Earth, and not put his name on it?
Right, exactly. Or if he did put his name, as is argued, he puts it up on the floor of a hidden chamber that is extremely difficult to access, and the hieroglyphs are very difficult to find. I mean, they're only about a couple centimeters in height to begin with. So what are we dealing with here? I think this is obviously graffiti that's added later, and this is people trying to build a theory out of nothing.
Which was also in that scene in Stargate, by the way, and that's why I go back to that scene. And if you listen very closely to the way that Roland Emmerich and the writers presented this, they obviously did their homework. It's just everything.
You know what's crazy though? I've been told they didn't. I know a screenwriter who knows Dean Devlin, who is one of the writers, and he said he knows nothing about any of this. And I found that very difficult to believe. It looked to me like they had done extensive research, especially in Sitchin's books, and brought it to life.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Now, okay, so, But the relief chambers that we are talking about, which were designed to take the weight off of the king's chamber from the pyramid that is above it, the weight of the construction. Okay, all right. But they were only found because they were dynamited into. They weren't ever planned on anybody ever seeing those hieroglyphs if they were 5,000 years old or 10,000 years old, whatever. They weren't ever. They weren't put there for somebody to see in the future.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, once the pyramid was sealed, it was never meant to be entered, at least not from a ground level or from the outside. It could probably be entered from underneath, and I intuitively and just personally think that there are access tunnels leading from the Sphinx to the pyramid, and you could access it from underneath. But once that thing was sealed, there was no getting in. And how in the world they were able to even get into the pyramid and into the Grand Gallery and the entrance that we have today is practically a miracle. There had to have been myths and legends, or perhaps even a plan that had been passed along in order for them to break in the way they did.
Now, we're talking about Khufu, of course, the Great Pyramid. Now, what about Khafre? Is there, what's on the inside of Khafre?
In Khafre's, there is a chamber somewhat like the king's chamber. It has a sarcophagus in it, or what we today call a sarcophagus. We really don't know what those stone boxes actually were, what their function is. And you can actually go into it, and it's that one has a bit of a disconcerting feel to it to me. The Great Pyramid is, every time I've been in, it just feels completely overwhelming. I mean, it took me probably going in 15 times before I could really even feel like I had any idea about what I was doing.
And what Khafre and Khufu were built at the same time, and
within a couple hundred years of each other. Yeah.
Well, this is what's weird in my investigation with that, and it depends on where you go to reference. There are some references out there historically that have them being built at the same time, 2650.
Interesting.
Yes. And so the interior, is there because the Great Pyramid, I haven't been there. The Great Pyramid and the Grand Gallery and the Queen's Chamber, it was so researched and dived into, and we can look at the 3D renderings and modeling of the Great Pyramid. But Khafre, does it have a Grand Gallery?
No, it doesn't. Not like Khufu. No.
And the Red Pyramid has a Grand Gallery.
It does, not as long or as steep as the Great Pyramid, but it does. Yeah.
Now, back to Khafre. I'm so interested. I can't wait to get to Egypt, man. I just cannot wait.
Jimmy.
But the inside of Khafre, you're making me feel like it's not as sophisticated. Okay, so there's no Grand Gallery. What is inside of there?
There's what they call a burial chamber. You enter, as you do in Khufu, through a cave-like tunnel, and you go through. I'm just kind of guessing, just from memory off the top of my head. The passage that leads into what they call the burial chamber is probably about 90 feet, something like that, and there's a sarcophagus in there, or what we call a sarcophagus, and that's it. So it's very plain. It's not as finely crafted as the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid, in that the walls of the King's Chamber are red granite and just absolutely mind-boggling in their precision about how the granite blocks are fit together. And it doesn't have a Queen's Chamber like you find in the Great Pyramid, nor does it have the subterranean passage or the pit. And there's probably other chambers inside of Khafre's pyramid. I mean, remember, there's room for 47 rooms the size of the King's Chamber inside the Great Pyramid. So undoubtedly there are other chambers that we've yet to discover. I mean, we found the gallery that rides along the Grand Gallery. We know that that's there in Khufu's pyramid, but we don't know of other chambers yet inside of Khafre's pyramid.
There has to be more there. And it is shocking to me, the lack of documentation or research into Khafre. And it just seems like they just have let it go, that all of the focus is on the Great Pyramid. And I understand that. But it seems like Khafre is ignored. And I don't get it. There must be so much inside of that pyramid.
Well, you would think so, but it's kind of funny because usually when they show the Great Pyramid, they are showing Khafre's pyramid to begin with. People are always mixing that up, and I guess people have to go kind of where the money is, and there's probably more money in looking into the Great Pyramid than there is into Khafre's. But all three of them are, I think, are probably functioning as a unit and will just leave you breathless when you get there, Jimmy. I wish I could be there to just experience that with you, because it is such a wondrous moment that when you first lay eyes on them and you first start walking the Giza Plateau, it's going to change you, and it will transform you in some really powerful ways.
Now, is there any hieroglyphics inside of Khafre?
No.
None? No. What about Menkaure?
No hieroglyphs there either. None of them.
Is there a king's chamber in Menkaure?
There's a smaller chamber, in Menkaure's pyramid. It's smaller than what's in Khafre's pyramid, and it's different too because it's got this red granite base. So that is telling us that perhaps the harmonics of it are different, or the ultimate symbolic meaning of the red granite is different. But there is that chamber, and unlike Khafre's pyramid and like the Great Pyramid, however, there is red granite lining the wall of the burial chamber in Menkaure's pyramid, or what we call the burial chamber. We really don't know what those rooms were.
Now, I've got 1 minute left, and we can continue this after the break. I know we're supposed to be talking about E.T. tonight, and we will get back to that. But Colonel Weiss, who discovered the writing above the king's chamber, he was trying to make a bit of a name for himself on the Giza Plateau. Everybody was making discoveries but him. And so suddenly he's breaking out with this amazing stuff. Wasn't he accused of moving mummies into Khafre? That there was nothing there, and then suddenly he's finding bones and things inside of Khafre's pyramid?
I haven't heard that, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, so many of these early archaeologists were really just tomb robbers, and they're Howard Carter is the classic example of that. I mean, the reputation that history gives to these people does not match their integrity or what they were doing at the time they were living. So there were no rules, and anything went. And so I wouldn't be at all surprised if he had done that.
Let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, the one and only William Henry. We're just talking. That's all we're doing, and it's been a great conversation. More with William after this short break. This is Fade to Black.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to getthetea.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's getthetea.com.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRAradio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact. KGRAradio.com.
When you're in the house for longer periods of time, you can see them flying or running across the floor. Ooh, yuck. They're unhealthy, gross, and disgusting. Bugs. I loathe bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. On contact, it kills hidden bugs, including ants, roaches, and fleas. Plus, Orange Guard is a residual repellent. All of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally recognized as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard, available at orangeguard.com, Whole Foods, and Ace Hardware.
Gold loves chaos, uncertainty, and disarray. History shows us what gold does when people aren't sure about the government, the stock market, their jobs, or their retirement savings. Our national debt is skyrocketing. Gold and other precious metals are a defense measure against inflation and a stock market that might take years to recover. So what can you do right now to protect yourself? Call United Gold Group. We offer gold and other precious metals delivered securely within 72 hours. Are you worried about the stock market? We can also help you set up a real gold or silver IRA or a 401k. Safe and secure. United Gold Group makes gold ownership affordable. Call now and get up to $2,500 in free gold or silver with a qualified IRA. Call 800-753-8534. That's 800-753-8534 or visit unitedgoldgroup.com.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I'm back. Hanging out in the YouTube chat. And I just get caught up. I get sucked in. William, I have to tell you that the amount of knowledge and what everybody is talking about right now in the chats, both on Twitter and over on YouTube, it's phenomenal. The knowledge these days. And I want to get back to Egypt in just a second. But how impressed are you with where we are today with the community and research, compared to 20 years ago and 30 years ago, which was fascinating. But today, man, the knowledge is just, it's insane.
It is. It's tremendous. It truly is. I was talking with someone the other day about those the Navy videos, the Tic Tac videos.
Sure.
And this woman, she's going, oh, that's a Merkaba, and it's an example of a higher dimensional craft coming from a 5D realm, phasing into our world. And she's just rattling this off, and I'm like going, wow. I mean, that is really impressive that a quote unquote kind of average person is comprehending what we're seeing and pulling back the veil on our reality and peering into the greater world that's out there now. And that it's awe-inspiring.
Yeah, and the YouTube chat. So I'm just going to share this with you. I said, okay, where's everybody at? Right, what city? And this is it's insane how many people are involved in this chat. But it's San Diego, Charleston, West Virginia, Columbia, South Carolina, Rochester, New York, Pueblo, Colorado, San Francisco, Dayton, Ohio, Santa Barbara, Cleveland, Ohio, Atlanta, the Redlands Inland Empire here in California, Carmel, California, Philadelphia, St. Augustine, Florida. I'm just scrolling through it. Sacramento. It's crazy. This collective that comes in and just starts to share and have conversations about this. And I'm reading through the intelligence level is just it's off the charts. It's incredible.
It is.
And you know what a big contributor for that is, and it's not because you're on the show. Ancient aliens. Ancient aliens, man. Ancient aliens. When that first episode, Puma Punku, I'll never forget it, man. I was like, wow. But if you think about that, it's not necessarily the information in Ancient Aliens. It's causing people to think. And they go and do their own research into these subjects. And Ancient Aliens is front and center of this big drive that's going on.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, and it's so exciting. It's just like we used to talk about this at Alien Cons, the Ancient Aliens conferences, how when Jurassic Park was out and it was popular, suddenly there's a whole new generation of paleontologists that have come along. And now there's millions of ancient astronaut theorists that are looking into these questions. And this is, I think, absolutely vital at this time. That's my remark also about the Tic Tac videos, is that now we've got millions upon millions of people that have seen those videos. We have fresh eyes on those videos, and now we're going to start to get fresh insights. And that's why it's such an exciting time right now, is because we've got this critical mass of people that are now involved in this investigation, and that's what we're living right now, is a massive investigation. Nobody knows the ultimate answers, but we're all attempting to find out, and fast.
I have here in the studio. It's over here. I can't go and grab it and show it to the camera, but I have a painting by Doug Taylor, and you know Doug, Serena's husband.
Oh, of course, yeah.
He's a great artist. And I have this painting of Göbekli Tepe that he gifted me, and I'm able to just stop and look at it all the time. And when I look at it, all that, first off, it's beautiful. But the second thing, I'm a technical guy, and I think to myself, whoever taught them to quarry and carve stones, that's your answer right there to Giza. And what happened there? It is just so it's apparent. And when do you think, if ever, that the Egyptologists are going to be forced into rewriting history and rethinking things? Do you think it's ever going to happen?
I do. But it's going to be a generational thing. I mean, Zahi Hawass has been in control there for the past, say, 2 decades, maybe going on 3 decades now. And now that new generations of Egyptologists are coming up, they're much more open-minded. They're much more worldly and willing to cross over forbidden boundaries. And I think in the next 5 to 10 years, we'll start to see a major shift in Egyptology and a loosening up of the dogma.
The lack of hieroglyphics on the Giza Plateau is an obvious one, but that isn't to say that there aren't pyramids with text, because there are the pyramid text, and there are very complete text in other pyramids that are there. The obvious question is, well, why would they stop when they build the biggest and the best, right? The most amazing achievement maybe in all of human history, and they don't tag it. I don't get it. But they'll tag the inferior pyramids.
Right. I mean, it makes no sense whatsoever. And there's a distinct difference between the Pyramid of Unas that has the pyramid text and what you see in Giza. I mean, first of all, the Giza pyramids are probably 20 times larger than the Unas pyramid. I mean, you can fit the step pyramid at Saqqara, which is supposed to be the world's oldest or first stone building. You can fit that in a tiny in one of the corners of the Great Pyramid, and it just kind of snugly would fit in there and be dwarfed by the rest of the building. So, I mean, this idea that they built Saqqara as a test case and then built the Great Pyramid, it just doesn't work. It just does not hold up to just common sense, basically.
Are you suggesting, well, what are you suggesting? Are you suggesting that the pyramids at Giza were inherited and they tried to imitate what was on the Giza Plateau?
That makes sense to me. That's what I'm seeing there. Absolutely. They're similar, but they're so different. And I think that is exactly what happened, is that Saqqara comes along and is accurately dated to around 2600 BC or 2800 BC, and that they are simply mimicking or trying to recall what they had done at Giza.
There's another complication here. Have you ever gone to an Egyptologist and asked these very simple questions?
No, I haven't. I mean, I encounter our Egyptologists on our tours who virtually by law have to repeat the official history, and they don't stray away from that. And
is that real dogma?
Right. That is real dogma. Oh, absolutely. No, it's almost. I mean, it's by rote that they learn this, and if unfortunately, there's I would attribute it to competition among the guides. If they don't like it when they hear another guide going off the reservation and talking other talking points, they very much discourage that.
And going back to John Anthony West, the great John Anthony West, and all of his very pioneering thoughts on all of this, and of course Robert Schoch. Those conversations, do they happen around the Great Sphinx? Do you hear John Anthony West and Robert Schoch and everything that was brought up back in 1992 and 1993? Is that something that is discussed out in the open?
Oh, absolutely. Well, among people on our tours, yes, for sure. But it's not expressed certainly by the what they call the inspectors who are in charge of the Sphinx, for example. No, they won't talk like that at all.
Wouldn't that open up tourism? Right? If they just started to have an open mind and get into some of these alternative ideas, wouldn't that open up tourism?
I think it would. And also what opens up tourism, which is what they're starting to do now, is to open up more sites and give people access to more sites. The new Ministry of Tourism was at one time a tour guide So he has hands-on experience. He knows what people like to see and knows the value of allowing people to take photographs that they can go home and share with their friends, and allowing people to have access to, for example, the Osirian or other sites, Abu Ghurab, which are normally completely off limits. They're opening those up now, and those are very important steps. Now, mind you, you have to be very mindful of the fragility of some of these sites. I mean, people are, I'm sorry to say, they're idiots. They get into these precious sites and they just want to start taking things apart, or they want to have sex on top of the Great Pyramid, or they want to climb on this so they can take the selfie in their Gucci shoes or whatever. And that needs to be discouraged, and people have to have reverence. And I think there should be maybe even two tiers of access in Egypt, where you've got the tourists who could care less if they're getting sun in Orlando, Florida at Disney World, or if they're in Egypt. That's one class of tourists. And then the other is the class that we're in, where we're here on either a spiritual quest, a historical quest. We're here for answers. We are not here to just look at the pyramid from 1,000 yards away. We want to feel it. We want to touch it. We want to be a part of it. And for those people, there should be a way of accessing these monuments and these buildings.
Graham Hancock tells the story about him, climbing up to the top of the Great Pyramid. Have you done it?
Mm-hmm. No, I have not.
You? See, because you're a saint. Have you ever thought about it?
Well, I've broken enough rules in Egypt and had enough encounters that I don't want to go do completely stupid things. The stupid I have done has gotten me in some trouble, and fortunately it went no further than being totally embarrassed. But you can get in trouble. You have to be very careful. You're in a foreign country, and mind you, the times I ran into trouble was when the Muslim Brotherhood were running the show, and that was 5 years ago. So it's not the same now, but it really taught me an important lesson in being always exemplifying the utmost respect for everything that we're experiencing in Egypt, because we are truly fortunate to be able to have those experiences.
Well, I'm going to be in bounds, and I'm going to be respectful, but I got to tell you, scaling the Great Pyramid sounds like a really cool thing to do.
It is, and I can't wait for you to see it and to maybe take a couple of steps up a couple of those blocks. I mean, sometimes you can get up as high as the original entrance. It depends how open things are, but to actually climb the pyramid, one, it takes some work. Two, it's fairly dangerous, but three, it would be truly a thrill of a lifetime to stand up there and get your picture taken. I had a very dear friend. She died 2 years ago, but one of my favorite photos of her was sitting up on top of the Great Pyramid when she climbed it in 1982, back when you could. And she's got this just Cheshire cat smile on her face that just tells the whole story.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Now, in the short time that we have left, two questions. And the first one, what is, through your research, what are those three pyramids designed to do?
Well, I go back to what the Egyptians said there, and this is Baval's term too, Robert Baval's term. They're transfiguration machines, and they are also, I believe, they're like speakers. They're resonators. They would hum, and they would send pulses throughout Egypt that would keep everybody in harmony with one another, and ultimately would enliven the land with their frequency. And then they are also markers, I believe, also of Orion as well.
Now, transfiguration, help me with that thought.
Transfiguration, changing form, changing from one form into another. The pyramid texts say that the Pharaoh scaled the stairway to heaven. The Pharaoh transformed into a form like lightning. That's transfiguration. That's what happened with Jesus when he took several disciples up to the top of a mountain, which could even be the Great Pyramid in some people's opinion. He suddenly, his face shone like the sun, and his clothes were like lightning. That's exactly the description of the transformation of the Pharaoh in the pyramid texts. And there are academics that believe that, and I agree with them, that the pyramid texts are the software for the hardware of the pyramid, the Great Pyramid.
Now, but what was the transformation into?
Plasma. Lightning is like plasma. It's just another phase of existence, becoming like the sun.
Do you think that they were transported to another place when this transformation occurred?
I believe so, yes. But they were also transfigured in their earth life, but yes, they could then be transported to other places. So then you can think of the pyramid as a stargate.
And was this occurring inside of the, I don't want to call it a sarcophagus, inside of the box, inside of the king's chamber?
We don't know for sure. I mean, that is supposed, but there could be a whole other chamber in the pyramid. For example, they believe the Iron Throne of Osiris could be in that gallery riding along the Grand Gallery. And it could be possible that is the Transfiguration Chamber, and it's not the King's Chamber.
Was it only Khufu?
I would say there were others, but probably not pharaohs that we know. And in my opinion, it could even be the pre-flood builders of the pyramid that were actually using it, and then we later lost our ability to ultimately use the pyramid for the purpose of transfiguration.
Yeah, I'm only asking that because of the relation to Khufu. But if this is, 10, 15, 20, 30,000 years old, then it probably had an entrance and it was used frequently.
Yes. And also, we have found the mummies of many of the pharaohs, so they wouldn't have all have used it as a transfiguration machine because their bones are still in existence. And in my understanding of transfiguration, your bones dissolve into light. All of your body dissolves into light except your hair, toe, and fingernails, which have no nerves to be transmuted.
And staying with this, one of the things that I'm fascinated with is granite, the pressure, the energies that are created from weight and friction between granite, which contains all kinds of things. And now we are dealing with frequencies. And just the energy of the stones being on top of each other creates an electromagnetic. It has to do that. It is just the properties of the stone itself. Do you feel that? Or what is it that you feel when you enter the king's chamber?
Well, it depends. I mean, today when you enter into it, you're often with 20, 25 other people, so there's a tremendous amount of excitement. The room itself, you could say you're feeling something coming off that granite, the frequency that's in the granite. But for most people, I mean, the personal experience is just this tremendous sense of excitement, and you're not feeling any kind of pressure or anything like that.
Last question. Out of all of Egypt, and this I asked you this a couple of weeks ago, so I'm going to ask you again. Out of all of Egypt, what's your spot? What is it that you gravitate to? What is your place?
Well, that is such a difficult question. But I would definitely go with the Osirion behind the Temple of Seti at Abydos. And next to that, I would also go with the Serapeum and the granite boxes in the Serapeum.
Now, and you remember when I asked you this, we were crossing the street, right? We were heading to dinner, and I was asking you about this. And when we talk about the Asarian and the fact that it is next to the temple of Seti the second or the first?
Seti the first.
It's Seti the first. That Egyptologists said, well, that's Seti, so this must be Seti, right?
Right.
And that's how the dating occurred.
Right. Even though the Osirian's 40 feet beneath the more modern temple of Seti, which is 1350 BC.
Completely different dirt.
Right? Completely different. And one of the reasons I'm so intrigued by that is Seti is one of three humans that completed their ascension in Egyptian history. And so he left a record of how he did it. The other two, we're not quite sure how they did it, but Seti, he absolutely left a record of how he resurrected. He tells us how he did it.
I am so looking forward to hanging out with you. We're going to do this. Check this out. Today's the 27th. I'm going to see you again in like 6 weeks.
Can't wait, Jimmy. It's going to be so exciting.
And I want everybody to go over to consciouslifeexpo.com, and you can click on the Los Angeles area of the website, which will be at the LAX Hilton. This is an in-person conference. William is coming out from Nashville. He is going to be on my Ancient Secrets panel, and then he's going to give his own presentation too as well. So I don't know how many tickets were ordered today, but the first 10 of you Fadernauts that go over before midnight tonight, California time, and purchase a ticket for William's lecture, you will get a pass for all day Sunday there at the LAX Hilton and the Conscious Life Expo. And you will also have the live stream for 6 months available to you. All you've got to do is go over and just purchase that single ticket for William's lecture. There's only going to be 150 seats available. And this is because of the world that we live in today. It is in a big room, but we can only seat 150 in there. And you will be one of those 150 and go and purchase your tickets right now over at consciouslifeexpo.com. William, what a great conversation. Now, William, listen to my words. You have something to bring in September, and you know what that is. Okay,
yes, I sure do, Jimmy.
I'm just going to leave.
I'm writing it down right now.
Don't make me call Claire, because I've got her number too.
I thought you were going to say, don't make me come to Nashville. But come on to Nashville sometime, Jimmy. We'd have a great time.
We've got to, and we'll go to the Bluebird. I would really enjoy that.
You got it.
Thank you so much, William. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Jimmy.
Give my best to Claire. Thank you so much.
I sure will. Thank you. Okay.
William Henry, everybody, and it's williamhenry.net. All of his books, all of his information, his blog, his writing, everything is over at williamhenry.net. Now, I'm telling you guys, go to consciouslifeexpo.com. Click on the Los Angeles section. Get over there, get your tickets, purchase a ticket for William Henry by midnight tonight. You're going to get a free day pass all day Sunday there at the Conscious Life Expo. You're going to have 6 months of live streaming available to you. And you know what? You get to hang out with me too as well. All right. With that, I'm going to take a quick break. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Thank you so much, William Henry. What a great conversation tonight. I always learn so much from William. And I'm going to take a quick break. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to come back and take your phone calls. 747-228-2051. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be right back.
And you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at jimmychurchradio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30 days free on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JamieChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black, William Henry. Man, I could just sit and chat with William forever. And his wealth of knowledge, and when you get into the biblical stuff, and the way that he communicates through that's for another show, but it's just incredible. It's incredible, and he can just educate you. It's really, really, really fun to go through. And thank you so much, William. I really enjoyed the conversation tonight. And again, I always feel like we just scratched the surface because there's so much to talk about. I've opened up the phone line, 747-228-2051, 747-228-2051. And the phone lines are officially open right now, 747-228-2051. A couple of things. Now, we dabbled into, and I feel a cough. Sorry about that. That's what a cough button is for. We started to dabble into Colonel Weiss. And I'm going to go into freedom of thought right now for a second. Colonel Weiss was a very intriguing figure of Egyptology right around 1810, 1815, 1820, through that period, when a lot of, and it wasn't just the British were there en masse, but so were the Italians and Americans and, just going and pillaging Egypt and digging up things and shipping stuff out of the country as fast as they could. I'm talking about that filling up the ships and getting the stuff out of Egypt and filling up the Louvre and the British Museum and the Met in New York too as well. And the things that just showed up around the world out of ancient Egypt, out of Egypt at that time. Well, anyway, a lot of things were done. There was a lot of surveying that was going on, and not only around the Giza Plateau. There was, and still to this day, if you look at some of the surveying maps that were done back then, they were discovering things that today still aren't talked about. And around the Giza Plateau, there was a lot of things that happened. Well, anyway, Colonel Weiss not only was trying to match what he was doing, but he was trying to keep up with everybody else. And he came from a wealthy family, and he was supported there, but he wasn't coming up with anything. And suddenly, I think that he had... his ego came into play. I think there was also some things about his past where he dabbled into some illegal things. So he had a different kind of mindset than others in Egypt at the time. Not to say that everybody was on the up and up, because they were not. They were trying to find temples. They were trying to find artifacts. They were trying to find anything to get out of the country. And back then, there were, right through the turn of the century, wealthy families would say, hey, yeah, we're going to have a party this weekend. I'm going to invite everybody over because I want to show you my mummy that I just got from Egypt. And they would have this stuff on display, right? This is my mummy hand. This is my mummy skull. This is my sarcophagus. This is, check out these coffins that I just got. All of this was going on. All right. So you got to think of the mindset that was happening back then. Well, so Weiss was having trouble. He wanted his name in the papers. He wanted to be a part of some amazing discovery. And he started to dynamite inside of the Great Pyramid. Yes, he was taking dynamite. He was blowing holes into walls. And the access above the king's chamber into the relieving chambers, and there's 5 of them, extraordinary work by whoever built the Great Pyramid. These 100-ton stones, and they're shaped like this, and they go up. Were not designed to ever be seen, right? So Weiss goes in and he dynamite. Now, the access to get up there today are the holes that Weiss dynamited. Now, can you imagine? You're inside of the Great Pyramid and you're bringing explosives in there and blowing holes into the walls just to see what's on the other side. That's what he was doing. And when you get up there today, and Graham Hancock's been up there, some great photographs and videos of him going through Weiss's cave hole that he dynamited to get up there. That was Weiss, and not knowing what if things collapse? What if you just brought down? You don't know. Right? What if you literally caused an avalanche of rocks and stones and things to come down and not only kill yourself, but the damage to the Great Pyramid itself? So anyway, that was Colonel Weiss. So Weiss gets up there. There's nobody around. You can look at Colonel Weiss's diary that he had written himself, and it's there. Scott Crichton's book is incredible, The Great Pyramid Hoax, which I have a copy of. He gets up there and suddenly he discovers the hieroglyphics on the sides of the relieving stones up in the 5th floor of the King's Chamber. Nobody was there. Suddenly he makes this great discovery, and the question is, did he paint that graffiti up there? And I think there is a lot of evidence to suggest that he did, because in his diary, in Scott Crichton's book, it's clearly labeled there, was the evolution of the correct way to write Khufu's cartouche, and his evolution of how he finally came to write Khufu's name. And that's the way it's depicted, and it's not exactly correct. So the graffiti is wrong. Now, what is suggested and by the way, that's the only thing inside that pyramid that has Khufu's name on it. That's it. And it's this red ochre graffiti that's on the side of one of these stones in one of the relieving chambers. So, apparently, what the story, the dogma that Egyptologists will tell you today is that back in the quarry 500 miles away where these granite stones were carved, that the crew of Khufu decided to put their name on the side of this stone, and that it was brought up and then inserted and built into the Great Pyramid, and that is what is there. It isn't on other stones. It's not repeated. It's not in any other chamber. And what the Egyptologists will tell you, well, these stones are these granite blocks are next to each other, so the graffiti is on the inside of these stones and you can't see it. All right. So that's their story. But anyway, so back to Weiss, or back to this period. I keep going back to the word dogma because we don't have anything accurate. There isn't anything there that says how the Great Pyramids were built. Everything else is documented throughout Egypt except for this. There is a shoreline about 400 miles away from the Giza Pyramid where they found some papyrus. And on this papyrus, they talk about the logistics, the taxation, and the transportation of these stones that were going up to Giza. All right, now that's 500 miles away. Is that empirical evidence of all of this? Well, it supports some things, but it doesn't take it to the next level. The problem that Egyptologists have, and I brought this up with William Henry, and it bears repeating, which is this. You have Khufu, you have Khafre, and you have a rough count of about, nobody really knows, of about 2.5 million stone blocks that were carved for each of the pyramids. I've also gone back and done my own calculations, and I come up with 4 million stones, but we don't know actually what's in the interior. Could the interior of the Great Pyramid and Khafre just be filler material, in that they built the outside walls and then maybe just filled in the middle of the pyramid with garbage and then did a layer on top of it, and then, so maybe what's in the inside, it's not just stone blocks. But if it is, that number is somewhere between 2.5 and 4 million stones each. And depending on where you go for dating on this, Khafre and Khufu were built at the same time. The other point to all of at the same time, which doubles all of the numbers, that doubles the amount of quarried stones. That doubles the amount of manpower that was involved with this. Egyptologists will tell you that the Great Pyramid was built over a period of 20 years by 20,000 workers. Some say slaves, some say workers, 20,000. Well, that means 20 times 2. Okay, I'm not even getting to Menkaure, right? That's the third pyramid, which all of this is built at the same time. So all of these granite blocks were brought 500 miles across the desert. Did they bring it up the Nile on boats? I'm not talking about the stone that makes up the pyramid, because that came from a quarry across the Nile and in front of the Great Sphinx and so forth. So, but I'm talking about all of the red granite that is involved, and we are talking about stones that are heavy, 50 tons, 80 tons, 100 tons each. And there is a lot of them, hundreds. How did they get all of that across 500 miles of desert to the Giza Plateau in a 20-year period? Logistically, it just doesn't make sense. But then there's the bigger problem here. And the bigger problem is manpower. Because if you go back to ancient Egypt at 3000 BC, and you look at the numbers for the entire country, it's under 500,000 in the entire country, from the Mediterranean and the top of the Nile all the way south. That's it, 500,000 people. And so from 3000 BC to 2700 BC, covering a 300-year period, the most large complexes, these temple complexes, these pyramid structures, of which there are documented 15 to 20. There are probably double or triple that is buried in the sand and lost in time, which would indicate that every man, woman, and child that wasn't sick or wasn't too old, wasn't too young, in the entire country was building a pyramid. Was there an army? I don't know. Who was farming? I don't know. Who was making clothes? I don't know. Who was cooking? I don't know. Who was building houses? I don't know. It's a complicated issue that we get into when we are just talking about logistics. And you get to the Giza Plateau at 2650 BC, and maybe the population is up to 750,000, maybe 1 million in the country. But you start, it's in the country. Who was at the Giza Plateau? Who was building this stuff? The numbers just don't make sense. And then if we take it a step further, and I'm very adamant about this, what about the money? Wait a minute. Are we saying that all of the resources in the entire country, everything, was spent on building pyramids? Right? What about everything else to run the country? They had a government in place. They had infrastructure. They had religion, and the priests around the country running their temples. Nothing was spent on anything anywhere? You know, and Egypt was constantly getting invaded. They had to defend themselves. They had to have an army and a standing army to defend the country. They were getting invaded from the north and from the south, and the Hittites and everything else that was coming. Where does the money come from? It doesn't make any sense. And the more that you pile on top of all of this, you have to step back and say it's wrong. History is wrong. The world of Egyptology now has to understand that everybody else, like me, is looking at this and looking at the numbers and looking at the temples and looking at the pyramids and saying, this doesn't make any sense. There wasn't enough people here. It just didn't build itself. Something else is going on. And if we have to step back and start to look at things logically, and again, I'm so adamant about this. that just maybe the pyramids were already there. That now we can take away all of the other complications that make this impossible, which is 5 million, maybe 9 million cut and quarried stones that were allegedly placed every 2 minutes for 20 years. That's not the case. You have Khafre there too. So you've got double of everything that was built, quarried, cut, and placed every 2 minutes for 20 years. And where the people came from to do this, and the money and the resources and the food and the clothing and cooking, it just doesn't make any sense. The only thing that makes sense is if you take that out of the play. That's it. That the pyramids were just inherited. They're already there. Now, going back to the movie Stargate, well, if the Egyptians didn't build the pyramids, then who did? I don't know. But there is evidence now to support highly technical societies that predated not only Giza, but everything else by at least 7,000 years, maybe more. And that is represented right there in the neighborhood at Göbekli Tepe. And now Göbekli Tepe isn't just Göbekli Tepe anymore. There's 12 of them, right? And it's getting crazier. So at some point, history has to just step back and look at alternative ideas and theories here that better support everything that is out in front of us. That's populations, that's money, that's, of course, technical skills. You have the engineering, you have the mathematics, and everything else that come into play that probably was taught from somewhere else. Did it come from up there? Probably. Did it come from another civilization predating Egypt? Probably. Did they get their knowledge from somewhere else? Probably. But everything is taught one after another throughout history. And that's the way that it works. And there isn't another way to look at it. And so with that, I've got calls lined up. Let's just start grabbing them. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hi, Jimmy. This is Rhea. You're doing awesome. How are you feeling?
I'm doing good, Rhea. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I've got gratitude at the end of the day, and that's the best part.
Always to have gratitude at the end of the day is the best way to go. I have gratitude. You're calling in. I'm thankful for that. I'm grateful. So what's on your mind?
Some folks encouraged me to call back, and I just want to say thanks to Deb for encouraging me. And my guides are saying, we want to apologize for the way my message got lost in calibration the first couple minutes of it, and it got really loud and stuff like that.
Well, it was certainly fun.
How good. I'm glad.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been working on honing the ability to be Oracle ever since I was told that's what the rest of my life was going to be. And it's a lot of hard work, and it doesn't come across to people like other channels that they've experienced before, and because I'm kind of like a loudspeaker, and there's a microphone.
Yes. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. I'm with you. I'm with you. Okay,
cool.
So
that's what I was feeling. That's what I feel too, and I appreciate that. And you were very patient with me. My earthly life, my story is a little sadness because I have a traumatic brain injury that gives me cognitive issues. And so I'm trying to be in this role and handle that. Well, I'm not hearing you come through. Oh.
Is it also a gift?
Oh, it really is. I've lived that one kind of lifetime where I've got these special powers, and it just freaks people out around me. Because when I was a kid, I would do things like I would know when a kid was going to hurt themselves or when another kid was going to move. I saw the DC, the airplane that went into the Potomac I prophesied that.
Really? What do you? When that happens, what do you do? How do you feel?
Well, I was really overwhelmed. It was. I've always had a rich dream life, and there was something very particular and peculiar about that dream. And in it, I was physically underneath water, and I was very cold, and I heard people screaming in fear. And I looked up towards where I would swim upwards to get out of the water, and I saw a very sort of textbook airplane picture going across the sky. How
old are you? Because that was in the early 80s. I remember watching it on TV. I was it was one of the strange like live broadcasts, right? And they're breaking in and they were showing the rescue there on the Potomac. How old were you when? Now. What's that?
I'm 50 now. I was born in 71.
So you were just 10 or 11 years old when you had that vision?
Yeah, well, it happened for me when I was in the 3rd grade.
Okay.
So it might be, Mandela effect, or it might be just different memory sets. But I had a favorite teacher. So it must have been the 4th grade, and my favorite teacher was my 3rd grade teacher. And I told her, because I was scared to tell anyone, and I told her, and she didn't say a word to me, and she turned and walked away and never spoke to me again.
So what did you told her that a plane was going to crash in Washington, D.C. in the river?
Yes, I told her I had this dream, and there was a plane crash, and it freaked her out, and the next day is when the crash happened.
Wow. In 1980, 81 or 82, 83.
Yeah, like maybe 80, because maybe 79 to 80, because I would have been 9 or maybe 8.
Right. Yeah. My memory says I was watching that on TV. I was thinking I was at Bell Labs. I was probably 19 when that happened. I should look it up. Hold on. Let me see.
Okay, cool.
We've only got a minute left. Hold on.
Okay. Well, it's good to have a nice conversation with you. I'd love to chat long sometime and maybe go into my story.
Okay, here we go. January 13th, 1982.
82.
That's right. It was in the winter because it crashed on the ice. I remember that.
In
right.
The winter.
So it was January 13th, 1982.
Gosh.
And so you're saying on January 12th, I only have 30 seconds. On January 12th, you had told your teacher about this.
Yeah, I told her about it, and it freaked her out. And then she, after that, never said hello to me again.
Well, because it happened the next day. Did anybody mention this the next day about you saying something the day before?
I only told one person.
Right. You only told the teacher, and she never spoke to you again. Wow. That's incredible. Mm-hmm. That's incredible. Well, Rhea, thank you for the phone call. I've got to roll. I've got to get to credits and wind this show up. Thank you for the phone call. Okay. And one of these nights on Fader Night, you just call in and we'll have a longer chat.
Okie dokie. Okay. Blessings. Take care.
Right on, Rhea. Thank you so much. And the call, I forget after what show, somebody will post it up in Twitter. Somebody said that was the call of the year, and it was pretty cool. So thank you for that, Rhea. I've got to get out of here. Tomorrow night, Jay Widener is joining us, and tomorrow night with Jay, we are going to do the very deep dive into the secret mystery schools and who or what may be running the world. We're going to do all of that tomorrow night. I can't wait for it. Jay Widener is here. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast owned and copyrighted 2021 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Until tomorrow night with Jay Widener, I want everybody to be safe. It's time to fade to black.